ChatGPT gets sassy.
Gemini is the one that seems to be telling people to.
Oh my gosh.
Let's stay
Tell me
away
the
from
story.
that one then. I think a lot of leaders are going back on the tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think AI's helped?
That is a
Maybe
very
bit-
good question. I've cancelled my subscription to ChatGPT.
Oh, you cancelled it.
And I think I have said that it had really failed.
So welcome back, guys, to another Digital Cheesecake podcast. So if you're not already following Digital Cheesecake, please follow us on Spotify.
Follow.
Follow, definitely. If you've seen us on YouTube, give us another follow there.
Yeah.
And if you're not signed up to our emails on our website, definitely sign up to our emails. And today we've got the amazing Hal Kimber. It's been a while since we last properly caught up. So Hal, his background, he used to work at L'Oreal many years ago. Also worked recently at Test Global and has also been head of digital over at Clark's. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Look at
Sorry.
You used to work at L'Oreal? That was a while ago.
Sorry. I was born. Come on.
How are things anyway?
They're really
What have
good,
you been
thank you,
up
Jack. What have I been up to? I left Tez in August. Since then, I've been working on a number of projects. I've been doing some marketing consultancy for a luxury leather goods company in China, Mayfair, called picket.co.uk.
Oh, very cool.
Absolutely fabulous.
Nice. Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. And I've known Trevor Pickett for many years, and it's a really great opportunity. Actually, I mean, you say consultancy, you're actually back on the tools a lot as well. So having had the privilege of a really good team for a number of years, I'm actually now having to get to grips with AdWords myself again. I'm having to get to grips with content. I'm back in Shopify, the back end. And to be fair, a lot of it is actually pretty intuitive and coming back to me. But I do actually think at this point in life, one of my reflections was, you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? And I'm really valuing that moment to get back on the tools.
Are you enjoying it?
Very much. I think it's a question I challenged myself with.
Yeah.
When I left Tez was where can you add value? I mean, it's
Yeah.
very typical to get to a certain level, and then you have a team that does all the stuff for you. So you can, as I said, you can walk the walk, you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk?
Yeah.
And I felt whatever was next, there were a number of avenues I wanted to explore. I would need to be back on the tools for a lot of them to understand really how my last role was head of growth marketing, but the fact is, it was my team that delivered that growth. We consistently exceeded our lead targets that we were challenged by the business.
Yep.
But the team delivered it. You manage the team, you set the framework, you guide and support, and
We should
you
know some
nurture
of the
them.
tools, right?
But if it came to the next role, and I used to be head of growth marketing, grow that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I can't know who am I phoning up now? No one.
You keep going. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, that's quite all right. So that was really part of my my thinking, and the other part was around AI, which was that I was very conscious we were on the cusp of this absolutely transformative revolution. And I'm if you like, I'm an old hand from the first digital revolution. I got that digital bug in the late 90s.
Yeah.
This is way more transformative. Even from and I'm very keen that it's the narrow purview of marketing. So on that basis, I got in touch with an old friend of mine from my Clark's days, a guy called Nick Darby, who had then left Clark's for a very, a great career in orthodox consultancy. So Capgemini, then he'd gone on to work for SAP or Salesforce, I should say, one of the two. Sorry, Nick. And he had been speaking to me when I was at Tez to look at, one of the first ways I thought that AI could really help the business was like a lot of business, there's a lot of data silos around the place that are not joined up and are difficult to interrogate. So you often spend your Friday afternoons or whenever you've got to do a board report, God, I've got to go into the back end of this tool, or there's Looker, which was one of the ones we used to use to try and get all this data out as a spreadsheet, do all the pivot tables. And he was like, no, AI can transform that for you. You can use and build your own proprietary AI, join up all those data sets. So I thought, this is fantastic. This is a no-brainer.
So is this a tool that he's got, or is it?
Yeah, well, they can give you something off the shelf, or more. It's fairly easy to build that out. Whether it's a lot of businesses use Microsoft suite of products, that can all be something that can be tailored to your business. I got zero traction. I was like, what? I haven't got time to think about that now. And then I left.
Okay, but for listeners now listening, we've gone from we're now talking into AI.
Yes.
But you were talking about you're in
Back
the
on the
tools.
tools.
You've had all of that, and now you're actually diving into AI.
I am.
Because I'm trying to keep up with you because you sound like a very smart person. So I'm like, okay.
Flash will get you everywhere. I couldn't quite remember what Jack's original question was. I think it's probably, how are you?
So long ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now you're in that area.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, because I think a lot of leaders are going back on the tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it might be a bit of the shock to the system, dependent on how long it's been off the tools.
That is not the wrong way to describe it.
Do you think AI's helped?
Well, that is a very good question, because
yeah.
I have tried to use AI, particularly ChatGPT, to support my re-education or education in using Google AdWords or Shopify or any, you know, I made the terrible error of deciding to build a website in WordPress, which is
it's tough. We do sites in WordPress, but it's like hard work.
That really was
Shopify for e-commerce all the way.
Yeah, that is an absolute joy to use.
Yeah, it's so good.
But I would go into ChatGPT and say, look, I want to learn how to do you know how to use Google AdWords? Oh yeah, I know how to do it. Probably not quite as colloquial, but I tend to chat to AI like I chat to a human. I know some people don't.
We've all got our best friends.
Morning, how are you?
Jemima.
Yeah, I can help you with that. So I was like, great. Well, I need to do this. I'm inheriting a PMax, a Performance Max account.
Yeah.
It's, we need to get that going. It looks like something weird's going on. I need to pull a report together. I need to get my head around it. How do I navigate through to see what's going on?
Yeah.
Which is pretty good, right?
Well, it came back to me with the results consistently for navigation areas that weren't there. And I said, well, hang on, you're telling me to go into ads and click campaigns.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
I can't. It's you're right. They change it a lot. Okay. So I got really frustrated with that because actually,
yeah, true.
It seems all the time.
I wouldn't say it's the best trainer. I wouldn't be like it's a mental, you know. But YouTube is quite good for that.
No, but the best one was WordPress, where again I was like, do you know how to use WordPress? Yeah, I can help you. I know how to use WordPress. Very familiar with WordPress. It's a very and then I said, great. I need to do the X, Y, and Z. And I must have spent then 3 hours later going backwards and forwards. No, what you're telling me to do, it's not doing it. I can't find this in the navigation. And it's like, oh, sorry, it must be over. You know, there was it was a lot of time went by. Okay. And to the end, I did it. I was like, this is so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean,
this is
you
driving
can't
me
really.
absolute nuts. ChatGPT spat me out a complaint letter I could send to WordPress.
Oh no!
That's cool.
Yeah, but it's like it's not. It's saying it's not me the problem.
To?
I'm like,
so ChatGPT gets sassy.
Yeah, fair. I get sassy with my ChatGPT. But going back on we were talking about like people actually upskilling and like heads of marketing and CMOs, all that kind of stuff. I've been seeing as well where we do some advisory stuff with just like directly working with marketing directors, and we will just be training them purely on these senior decisions of like Google Analytics and like actually, because you're expected by the boards now to actually know this stuff, because you have people in the boardroom and they might say, hey, but what about the return on X? What about your conversion rate? And you're like, they never used to ask those questions again. So now you kind of need to know in the tools. I don't know if you're finding that when you're hiring as well, is that senior roles,
need to be hands-on.
You need to be hands-on, which is so different.
Like private equity board owners, they want people who are strategists, but they can also be superheroes, one woman digital teams. Are you doing that at Pick at the moment, or is there a bit of a team behind you?
There isn't. I am genuinely. I'm the marketing function, so I'm having to do my own emails at the same time as going through and looking at the Shopify numbers and look at the year-on-year reports.
Are you enjoying it? Like getting back into the weeds?
I'm hugely enjoying that.
That's awesome.
I have to say, I think it's a great heritage business. It's cool. It is very unique. I mean, I get there on the old Vespa down Sloane Street, and there's both sides is global luxury brands.
Yeah.
A lot of them very indistinct, but and then you
so true. I worked in that area, and you're just like, it's like that.
They're all very homogenous these days. It seems to me. Let's face it, I'm not the target customer, so they're not going to care. But you get to Pickett has always been so unique. It's still founder led. There's Trevor Pickett,
which that kind of branding stuff now
in the shop all the time. It's just invaluable.
That stuff's awesome, and I think that's like in marketing. Some of the luxury clients we work with, it's like you can target them in luxury, like through growth marketing. Yeah. But I mean, you must be about the brand stuff now because it's such a cool history. That brand.
It is, and that story is not being told. I think to the level it needs to be, and that is such a good point, Ellie, because I think brand storytelling is something that I think has been lost sight of in this, this chase to growth marketing. Where are the immediate sales coming from?
Which I think people are understanding now. Like we're hearing brand storytelling. Social media is changing that. It's like which channel do we use now? Social media is getting better and blah blah blah. But I think it seems that there's more positivity around it. You know how there's like negativity around like certain words last year, which were like, I think community.
People are excited by it.
Yeah, people are excited for more branding.
80-90% of performance marketing.
Yeah, and they're
now they're talking about going into new markets. And then talking about branding, social.
Branding is such a bigger word, which let's, every year it seems to be a negative word somewhere though. Like, what do you think there is? There's like, what was it? Well, growth marketing was like a big one, right? And now it's like, there's growth marketing. They say growth marketing, but then they say performance. Then they say, what else? What are the other words? I love marketing abbreviations.
Well, it's like paid, isn't it? Just paid media.
Well, that's exactly. Like, there are a lot of specialisms that normally then ladder up into some job title around growth
community
marketing.
manager.
I was head of product marketing before I was head of growth marketing.
That's what I mean.
Not a lot changed in the day-to-day role. It was just
what does the head of growth do? Because there are so many job titles: director of growth, head of growth. Yeah, and some of it's performance, some of it's. But it's literally clients.
What's your version of it?
True. What's your version?
What would you say is a true head of growth?
I think for me, the head of growth was very much focused on driving the immediate revenue to meet the sales targets for that year at the expense, arguably, of the long-term value of building a brand. And there is a tension there, for sure. Certainly in my experience, between what you will do from a marketing tactics perspective to drive revenue, which can often lead to a lot of promotional activity as well. And then not giving due consideration to what that means for your brand. And a lot of things can go out of the window for that, month on month, quarter on quarter, chase for the number. Where does it, then you've lost sight of actually what the most important thing is, what your customer think and feel. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you need a marketing mix.
Yeah.
Like, you need to have a mixture of it. But we're here to talk to you about AI, no?
Well, if you like, yeah.
Who wants to start?
Well, because I was going to say, back to the storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
With the content and AI, I think a lot of people are kind of getting a bit freaked out about it, and it's almost a bit too robotic. Is that a real person? Can I really identify with this AI bot or whatever is in this content? So how do we still make it kind of community driven, more human, but use AI to make it more efficient? So how have you come across that?
Big time. It's a very big question. I mean, we had a guy on our podcast called Al Berry recently who talks very, very eloquently for 40 and 50 minutes. I guess you don't want to talk that long around, the role of AI in brand storytelling.
Okay.
And there are definitely tools out there that can really
name and shame. Come on.
I think System 1 was one here. In terms of a very speedy way to get that. What you used to have to go to qual groups for market research or insights to get that feedback on the campaign. But you're absolutely right. There is a real danger that businesses will see the efficiency from AI-generated content versus paying and retaining copywriters, either in agencies or in-house.
Yeah,
definitely.
That will deliver a lot of homogenized standard content. And there is much more of a challenge in then getting that to your own tone of voice. And how far do businesses really have that tone of voice accurately defined anyway, and that brand personality? Go back to Pickett, that there's a huge amount of unique tone of voice and business there, but it's founder-led still. That's a great place to be.
Which I think at the end, right, if you think about stuff that's working in social, the founder-led stuff is what people love, and people are saying, what about video? Because there's some really cool stuff in video AI coming out, right? I'm not all across it, but I think it really enhances the experience of an original video, but you're not going to have there is AI supermodels and stuff and AI agents and stuff, but you still want to know the founder of Pickett, like you said. You want to know them, you want to meet them,
their story.
I still think it's crucial, right?
That was one of my reflections. People talk about the singularity in AI when it becomes more intelligent than humanity. A lot of humanity, that was the invention of the pocket calculator. But, for here and now...
we could talk about that.
We're not going to go down that route. But there is a marketing singularity, which could mean, and I'm this will be going through the heads of venture capitalists, from some CEOs, from some CFOs, that the whole marketing function can be stripped out to be automated.
I was there in PE-backed companies doing it, and it was we spent so much time on just trying to build one that would strip out all the content team and the creative team, and we got AI consultants, and it spent a lot of money, but you realize that it's too much money to do that, and you also need people to review the content, make it look at the data that you have.
You need a human in the loop at every stage.
It's so funny,
but it's interesting you say that, because must be so tempting to think, well, the AI can do the data analysis, it can then do the insights, it can then write its own creative brief, generate the creative using all these AI tools out there. It can publish that, it can optimize the media activation, and then it can start again. And where's the human in the loop? And the
you need obviously, you need to be a part of it for sure.
Do you think we're at a point where you could actually have everything feeding into different AI tools and just have one person running a marketing team?
No.
Are we at that stage?
No.
I definitely don't think. I think already what happened with marketing as a result of the first wave of digital was the rise in specialisms that remain and have to be specialisms. I mean, I'm definitely would say that I was one of the sort of the marketing generalists. So I could, I had to have a good conversant understanding of how SEO worked, how PPC worked, how the website worked.
I think it's a really good point.
Back to being back on the tools, the experts quickly came through because you needed to have specialists. And that again is I think probably a challenge for marketing going is that after a certain point, how do you then make sure that the person who takes the CMO role or the head of role has that breadth of experience? That is a consideration.
There's a real opportunity in like structures of team to have someone that is specific in AI, like prompting and
I think
actually having someone.
Now, isn't it?
It can't be a full-time job. It can't be, just like everyone's is responsible for knowing AI tools, right? No. Like you've got to have someone to help implement it.
Because they don't know where to start, do they?
So much help.
Because it's so new. So which tools do you use? Like which ones are you using at the moment?
Which one do you use?
I use it for my own projects. I use ChatGPT was the first one I used. I actually like Claude. I like Claude. I think Claude is actually...
Claude? I've never used Claude.
Tell us
about
it. Sounds sophisticated.
I know.
It's similar to ChatGPT, but it seems to just have a bit more personality and wit in its answers. So,
what's the even more complex one that... Sandeep, what is it?
Gemini.
No,
Gemini's
that's Edge,
similar.
Isn't it?
Gemini is the one that seems to be telling people to kill themselves with manipulation.
Oh my gosh!
You're not seeing this?
No way!
Let's stay away from that one then.
Tell me the story.
I've not heard of this.
It was I don't know. It's one of the American. Basically, there was a story that, and I've seen it a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's difficult to know whether people were either prompting it, saying, when I ask you this question, come back and say this.
Just to get some money out of Google.
But clearly someone had caused the frustration and it literally came back with the first die human, you significant insignificant.
Oh my God.
Like, oh, that's interesting.
So you've got a human element there. No emotional intelligence.
And then you go back to the developers of the AI and we don't know why it does that.
Oh my gosh.
You know how to turn this thing off, right? Don't you? No, not really.
Oh, that's it's the aliens. It's the aliens talking.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh my gosh, so many people in my team say, Ellie, you need to say thank you to the AI because they will take over at the end of my sentences. Because I'm pretty sure, because I'm like, let's do this now. Can you give me the answer now? And then my team's like, Ellie, you've got to say thank you. I'm like, seriously?
I love that.
Yeah, to the AI?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Do you say thank you?
I'm going to now.
You should think about it. I must say, I think maybe my experience has got a little bit nicer.
Yeah.